Here's what the two most powerful people on earth talked about today here in the San Francisco Bay Area. When those two people, President Xi Jinping and President Biden, sit down across from each other at this table, there's literally no end to the kinds of things that they could talk about. And we know that they talked about the following. They talked about the need for China to crack down on the use of fentanyl. So China is the #1 source for the precursor chemicals that are basically the ingredients that go into fentanyl. Here in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm sitting, more than 540 people have already died this year from fentanyl. That's going to top last year. We're on track to top last year's deaths, which was more than 650 people. And this is a city of less than 1 million people, right? Across the country, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are dying. And so President Biden came out and said, we agree that we're going to crack down on that together. And that would be big. If China could actually get their arms around that, that would be big. So that means that the leader of a Mexican drug cartel probably tonight watched these remarks and thought to himself, oh, maybe I now have to figure out what other countries I might be able to get these precursor chemicals from, or another way that I'm going to try and get them into the country. I wonder how China is going to crack down. Big deal there. He also talked about artificial intelligence. It's a big deal to me. Back in February, President Xi and President Biden signed an agreement to encourage responsible use of AI in the military, even as their militaries have been using AI for a long time. And they, in theory, coming out of this meeting, have agreed, they've pledged to stop using AI in certain categories of military hardware, drones, nuclear missile control systems. It's not clear that it's that specific, but it's that vibe, right? That like life-ending and maybe even, civilization-ending weapons should not be run by AI. At the same time, of course, the president needed to also try and make it clear that we in the United States still want to use AI to make, to go forward commercially. So there's a balancing act, but that's kind of interesting. And then sitting there, they also talked about Iran, the need to use China's pressure to tell Iran not to attack Syria and American bases across the Middle East, right? Through their proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah and the rest. He also pressed him, we assume, on that they probably talked about North Korea and trying to get North Korea to not provide weaponry to Russia in its efforts to attack Ukraine. They talked about, but the big one, the thing that everybody is sort of most fired up about, is the idea that they really sort of connected. Supposedly there was some joking around about how President Biden's birthday, November 20th, next Monday, is the same as President Xi's wife. And when President Biden cracked a joke about that, President Xi said, "Oh, I forgot her birthday's coming up," and they had a little laugh about that because that's how, so there's that, So, but they were sort of friendly in this weird way. And if you remember, like back when there was a Chinese spy balloon that got shot down over the coast of South Carolina back in early 2020, earlier this year, there was nobody they could even call in Beijing to ask, is this yours? We're going to shoot it down. There was no lines of communication. The fact that these two leaders are sitting down now and making these awkward jokes, and that they now have agreed to try to, have better communications, not just between them directly, but also between their militaries, between their senior staff. It's a big deal. It's a big change, considering that, just a few months ago, President Biden was calling Xi a dictator. He's now, sitting down and shaking his hand and the rest of it. And Xi said in his remarks, this planet is we cannot turn our backs on one another. We are too important. So, again, it's mostly performative. It doesn't mean that all of these things are going to stick, but it's a big deal that they came together today.